I understand you saw a video in which angels were mentioned this morning by BL. I do ask you again to look at it, to keep identifying the angels in your life. For all of us have angels. Not everyone's an angel, but you can't fail to know that somebody who helps you or is kind to you or even smiles at you in the street. It is right to acknowledge inside yourself that's an angel, because that's what's needed here. They're not needed in some Christian heaven, for Christians are always concerned about something that isn't here. What we're concerned about is living in some sort of paradise, bringing about some sort of paradise here. And the way to do that is to acknowledge the angels in your life. You don't have to necessarily acknowledge it to them, but you acknowledge it to yourself. And this is something that we've forgotten, that there are angels here, meaning anyone can be an angel. It's not a fixed body. The angelic realm is not fixed. The angelic realm, which is the realm of God, the unknown creator, the indescribable, comes into existence like that and is with you just at the right time, here or not. Somewhere else comes to you, appears just for a little while perhaps, to help you, to do something for you. And then they're gone and you might never see them again. But this is from the angelic realm. And the angelic realm is God. The only angel is God. And that God does come into existence, although how often do we acknowledge it? We're so busy, aren't we, with ourself and our selfish lives. Do we stop and inside actually see, that's an angel in the moment. That's a smile of an angel. Someone walking past in the street. You've got to be open to it, though, haven't you? You've got to be open to it to see it. And I ask you to do this. For this is an acknowledgement of the good, isn't it? We become so dense, so self-fixated. It's such a pity. When behind this existence there is a whole activity of something that we don't understand, that comes into our life every day, every hour. There's something in our life that's good and maintained as good. But we talk about other things instead of acknowledging the good as often as we possibly can, as we were reminded of it. And that brings more of the angelic realm to us. Now, my cows, as to me, are angels, you know. They give me much pleasure. They make a lot of work for Sarah, I must say, but they give me much pleasure because I see the innocence in their eyes and the sweetness in them. And all the other creatures, you know, they've got this angelic thing in them that is so innocent and sweet. It doesn't matter what natural creature you see. It's got this sense of innocence in it. And that's wonderful to behold, isn't it? When we come to people, it becomes more difficult with people. We can see little babies, can't we, that are so beautiful when they're born, that we all agree these new fresh babies are so beautiful. We all agree with that. But what happens what happens with time and experience to those little babies. They become not so much of the angelic realm as of some other realm that it could be diabolic at times, couldn't it? Because they take on the culture of the human race. And the culture of the human race is to be unhappy, to always look for some satisfaction to get rid of the unhappiness, a satisfaction to get rid of the unhappiness. And that, of course, is not the way to do it. You have to get rid of the unhappiness itself. But the human race is always looking to win the lottery, to win something, to win a promotion, to give the client a good submission, and when you do, you have a party and celebrate. But that doesn't get rid of the unhappiness. It only fleetingly gives you a sense of having won, and that will soon pass. So, to take on this culture is what we've all done. Each one of us, since we were born, had to take on the culture of the human race, the culture of humanity, which is unhappiness, which is greed, a certain amount of violence or cruelty, of cunningness, and all the rest of it that we've all been subject to. And we've had to climb out of that muck. All of you have climbed out of that muck, more and less. And that's why you're here. For it is possible by the grace of God, the unknown Creator, to do that. To stop this fixation with just self-acknowledgement instead of acknowledgement of the good that's in our lives. Today we're going to go into this wonderful subject of woman and man, but let's put it round the other way, man and woman. First we have to understand, or endeavour to understand, what the struggle here is on earth. And the struggle is on earth is for man and woman to unite. That's what it's all about, because if you've listened to my epic poems, which there is a recording over there, under the twinkling eye, you'll hear a description of a man and woman as two 180-degree arcs of a perfect circle. And those arcs are always endeavouring to come together. Always. This way, that way, perhaps that way, I don't know about that, perhaps that way, but always endeavouring to solve this mystery of you and me and come together in perfect harmony and make a perfect circle, the perfect circle being the circle of eternity, which is the circle of God, the unknown, the great unknown Creator. But can it be done here? Can it be done here? That's the question. Because can it be done where there are separate bodies? And so separate bodies can never come together as a perfect circle. It has to be done within, in intelligence or consciousness within. For the body is already in harmony with nature, with the rocks, with the trees, with the animals, all the animals. The body is already in harmony with all those things, with the earth. And so the body doesn't have any problem with the earth. And being a separate body, like all things, has to take its chances of being wounded, injured, or even devoured, like the worms in the grass when the magpie is feeding. We all have to take our chances because we've got separate bodies, because that's the way it is. So two bodies can't come together in perfect harmony, because they're always going to be separate. But it can be done within. But because we're fixated most of the time on our physical bodies, and there's nothing wrong with being conscious of your physical body, but being fixated on it is the problem. And man and woman represent the opportunity for a consciousness to come together as the two, as much as is possible in this existence, as consciousness. And as the consciousness comes together, the bodies can come together in harmony too. Because the consciousness cannot come together while you or I, you as woman or I as man, have any doubts, fears, self-consideration, unhappiness inside my body. I cannot do it. So it's very rare to get two of us to reach that state where we are prepared to give up our unhappiness and just be together for love or just for being. Very rare, as we all know. And why is it so rare? It's so rare because this existence between man and woman, where man and woman are separated, which is quite unnatural. You know, where I come from, it is quite unnatural for man and woman to be separated. Because this is a very unnatural existence. I know it's all natural. I know it's all natural in that sense, but it's unnatural for you and I, as man and woman, to be separated. But that's how it is here. That's this existence. And so man and woman are always struggling in separate bodies to come together. And this existence here, by the way of things, is created as the opportunity to practice getting sufficient consciousness or speed of intelligence to realize love in both bodies at the same time. And as within, so without. So when that is done properly within, or correctly or rightly within, then the physical bodies themselves will come together in a perfect harmony. Now this is all idealism unless it's lived. An ideal is something that hasn't yet been lived, right? It's an ideal. But we're each endeavouring to live this so that the ideal becomes lived, and then it's an idea. And when an idea can be lived, and then that becomes the ideal, although there's no ideal here, it has to become just the idea. And all ideas come from the great Creator God. All ideas. The human race lives off concepts. You start following me. You know, this is all self-knowledge. I'm going to get to man and a woman, right? The human race lives off concepts. That means you and I, in our normal, everyday life, live off concepts. And concepts are interpretations of ideas. So there's the purity of an idea, and the human mind comes along, embraces the idea or endeavours to, and forms a concept of the idea. Concepts. So what happens in my teaching, and in every teaching of truth, I suspect, but I can only speak about this one, is that I'm saying one thing all the time, and all the people are forming concepts of what I'm saying. So I'm giving the idea, and the human mind, where it exists, forms concepts of the teaching. I can't do anything about that, because that's the nature of the human mind, to form concepts of things. Because we're taught not to get the idea, not to see the idea itself, the purity of the idea. We are taught to form concepts. All the professors are teaching all the students to form concepts. And when I said to the young man the other day, you've got to get the idea of what you're doing in your business. You've got to get the idea of it. He hasn't got the idea yet. Have you got the idea of what you're doing? Have you got the idea of what you're doing in your business? Or do you just work it according to concepts, what you've read, what you've heard, a bit of your experience and everything all mixed up together, synthesized, and you then practice that? But that's the way humanity practice. That's marketing. That's fashion. That's style. That's a synthesis of concepts endeavouring to reach some ideal of perfection. And there's no perfection out here. It has to be reached within. You have to get the idea of man and woman. So man and woman are two arcs of a perfect circle, always struggling here to get together to form the perfect circle of eternal love, which is God. So this is a place of struggle between man and woman. No matter how much close you are together, unless you are really conscious all the time of being together, it's going to slip. Your arc is going to slip out of joint, and you're going to slip over there. And as soon as you get out of joint, you get something between you. And that's familiarity, casualness, putting work before love, putting children before the love of man and woman, putting anything between you separates you. And then you get this terrible stuff here, which is psychic muck between you. And you say, although we're living together, we're so far apart. And how many like that, eh? How many of your friends are like that? Putting on a brave front, mum and dad putting on a brave front, saying how much we love each other, but is it love or is it just attachment, companionship, and wishful thinking? So I'm talking about love. And all of you, all your love affairs have been a struggle to find, get the idea of what it is to love. That's all you've got to do, is get the idea of what it is to love. And to love is to have no position. Putting it in a nutshell for you to listen to have no position in your relationship. Now you're hearing me, please. When did you last have a disagreement? Nadine, who's taken a position in your relationship? You or your man? That's right, we both have. And that applies to everyone. We take positions because we say that's not right, or you can't say that, or you're trying to tell me something, or something else. That's a position. What is it not to have a position? Well, you can't not have a position unless you surrender to God, the unknown. You cannot surrender to any man or any woman. If you do that, and that's what everybody's been trying to do, oh, I love you, and I'm going to surrender to him, or I'm going to surrender to her. You cannot do that. It's been tried. It's been done. It's been done 1 billion million times, and it always fails. You cannot surrender to any man or any woman. You must surrender to that which is unknowable. That which brought you here, for instance. You could think that you wanted to come, you had an urge to come, and you pleased yourself whether you come or not. You can think anything that brought you here, but I'll tell you now that something inside you that is real and true, what I would call me, the still and silent place inside of you, me, which is most treasured here inside of your body, me inside your body, which you call yourself when you are most fragile and beautiful. Me. you surrender to me. Now, man and woman can get the wrong idea, can't they? Can form a concept of that and think, for instance, as some masters say, form a concept, you must surrender to me, the guru. Well, there's a place for that as long as the man is guru. But how can you be ever sure any man's a guru? Enough to surrender to. You're a great fool if you do. There's only one guru, and that is God. That is me inside of you, which is inexplicable. You can't explain me inside of you. You can explain your person, you can explain yourself, you can explain all your wishes and wants. You can't explain me. Because you must surrender to me. Not to any man or woman. And then you get it right. But it takes a long time of surrendering to get rid of all the positions that are in us. So every situation, every love affair you've ever had, where you have had confrontations, either through yourself or the other, or the two of you together, that is a testing ground so that you will learn to surrender to God. Oh God, what are we going to do? How often have we heard it? But if only we knew what we were speaking to. Oh God, I surrender this situation to Thee. I give up. And the fear then is that the other person's going to walk all over you. And they probably will. If your love is conceptual and not real. But if you are holy, if you are truly loving God and surrendering to God, more and more, I'm not saying you can do this all the time to begin with. It takes many years of doing. The angelic realm, which is God, serves you and ends that relationship. Although you might cry and not want it to end, it doesn't matter to God. The important thing is that your consciousness keeps going ahead so that you will surrender more and more to God, to the unknown, and not to any man or woman, and certainly not to yourself. For yourself is your feelings. And if you surrender to your feelings, then your relationship is doomed. For, say you get emotional and start screaming and arguing, either one, you have surrendered to yourself. For it is yourself that feels and screams and argues. It is yourself, and you've surrendered to it. Am I making sense here? Am I saying what's impossible? Well, no, I'm not saying what's impossible. But it so happens that the impossible realm is God's realm. The possible realm is man and woman's realm. So we're always doing what's possible, aren't we? Always doing what's possible. Even the scientists are doing what's possible. They know it's possible to put a man on Mars. Then they know it's possible, perhaps, later go deeper into space or whatever they call it. And they know what's possible now. But what's possible now is going to become more. What's impossible now in in your experience and their experience is going to become possible again tomorrow. Just like the famous swimmers are breaking yesterday's record, last year's record, they keep breaking it. Once it was not possible at that time to climb Mount Everest. And then after many, many attempts, it became possible and someone did it, and then we knew it was possible to climb Mount Everest. And now, I think they've got a tourist train going up and down. That's how possible it is. And all the records are being broken, and they shall continue to be broken by the way of things. But it's not going to help your love life. It's not going to help man and woman get together. It's not going to help your children to know how to love. Isn't it incredible? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. It's a great celebration because the record's been broken. What about the hearts that are being broken today? What about your heart? What about your children's hearts? Doesn't that count for you? No, doesn't count. We live off concepts. Who wins is best. And so it is in relationships between man and woman. Who wins is best. Who has the authority to be strong? Well, we all know that man is the strongest of the two physically. No matter how a woman wants to work out and, he's still the strongest by nature. And that's not by accident. That is so that he can protect woman. In the way of things, he can protect woman. For instance, while she's having a baby. Doesn't matter how strong she is, while she's having a baby, she's vulnerable. And man can protect her from all the things that would try to destroy her, eat her, whatever it is, or the baby. He's there to protect her. And that's why man is with woman, to protect her. Not to cause her unhappiness. Because that's hard. That's a reversal of roles. Instead of being an angel for her, he's now infected her with such unhappiness that she's a half man. Because that's the only thing, a defense she's got, is her emotions and her crying and her weeping and her sharp tongue. And so where's the protection man? Well, woman doesn't want your protection anymore because she's got the idea that she's a man, mostly. But that's not the way of things. I don't go by this society's mores. I don't go by those. I go by the simple truth. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was simple. And what I say is very simple. Man is there to protect you, not to come down and cause you problems, right? But if you want problems, you can have them. You can love him. He's so attractive, woman. He's so attractive. Well, wouldn't he be? I mean, he's your opposite magnet. And the magnet is so attractive. And you are so dying for love in a pretty loveless world that you are likely to make terrible mistakes just for the sake of being loved for a little while, and you think it's going to last. And you take some terrible bets on, terrible chances with obviously bad signs. You ignore the signs and think that your wondrous love can change man. Well, it is true that you have wondrous love inside you. But your human love can't change him. But that's what you work off most of the time, your own insecurity and your own knowledge of the idea of love, which you are. The love that's beyond understanding, that's what you are. But you are moved to think you can change him. Well, you're not going to change him, but what's going to happen if you have an honest relationship, the two of you, right from the start? And that's possible after you've come to Barry Long and listened to Barry Long and endeavoured to live what he says, the idea of what he's saying, not your concept of it, to get it straight. Honesty is being honest, like I'm honest with you. I speak straight to you. It doesn't matter what you say to me or what your question is. I try to endeavour to be straight with you. No, believe me. Just to get to the point, to always get to the point of simplicity. But the world always goes for complications, the world being the mind. It wants complicated answers. It wants to skate around it all when it's all very simple. So honesty first. No being on your good behaviour and making beautiful love and suppressing everything about you, that you're emotional, that you're dishonest with yourself and therefore dishonest with others in your love life. While you suppress all that stuff, You can make beautiful love because the bodies are made for beautiful love. Why not? But what about yourself? It can't make beautiful love. Never has, never will. It can make sex, beautiful, exciting sex, but it can't make love. So you've got to have honesty. And if you have lived the way that I speak, then you have a chance. Otherwise, you look around outside of you, all the people, even the people with masters, filled with emotion, no knowledge of love, how to make love, what man and woman are about, no knowledge of it at all. Lots of silly words. So every love affair that you have, every partnership that you have, is only for now. Nothing here is forever. That's the first thing to know. You have to face the fact and be straight. Nothing is forever. No partnership that you will ever form, no matter how much you love each other, is forever. Why? Because you're going to die or he's going to die. One of you is going to die, so how could it possibly be forever here? There's no forever here. Everything dies, everything breaks up, everything is ended. Whatever it is, everything ends here. But if you know that, if you realize that instead of walking in thinking that you, woman, are going to change man, there is a chance that you can change him. But I wouldn't bet on it, thanks. You can always look at the signs. So I'm talking to a woman just now. If a man takes alcohol, too much of it, and you've got to watch him, you've got to watch him very carefully because he's very cunning. His self is. If he takes alcohol to extremes, and particularly if he's an alcoholic, you've got a bad bet on. He will eventually make you an alcoholic or drag you down into drinking alcohol. And you will try to love him and change him. And he will abuse you, and in his tantrums he's likely to strike you or be violent with you in some way or other. Bad bet. And yet you think you can change it. Well, I'd like to see how many have been changed. I'd like to see it in front of me. Okay. Alcoholics Anonymous changes people, right? Takes them off it, so they can't even think about it, mustn't think about it. So that's the value of Alcoholics Anonymous. If I can get through this day, well, I say if you can get through this moment without thought, you're all right. But if you think, you will suffer. And an alcoholic will think about booze. Bad sign, bad bet. Then if you go on to drugs, if a man takes drugs, it won't be long before he introduces you to drugs and you'll be one of those poor, pathetic girls who die of an overdose sooner or later. And you'll think it's all right, it's experimental because youth lives forever, we know that. No youth has ever died yet. They don't think they're going to anyway. Bad bet. Have to be very careful. Wise as a serpent. Wise as a serpent. If a man is emotional, it means he can't be straight. Now, I know every man's emotional when you meet him, really. I know everybody's emotional to a degree. But to the emotional point where they are continuously volatile or this or denying anything or emotionally reactive, you've got to be very, very careful. Because that means wherever there's emotion, there's dishonesty. And that goes right down the line. Wherever there is emotion, there is dishonesty. And if everyone is emotional, then everybody is dishonest, right? But it does reduce as you get rid of your emotion. So you get rid of the dishonesty in you, which allows you then to be straight and to see straight. But if you're a woman and think your love can change a man, and I don't doubt that you have this sense of great love in you, that your love will change him, you have to be practical. You have to look at the signs. I mean, you don't walk across the road unless you've looked both ways. We're talking right down here in reality, not in your great sense of love, which I understand you are love, and I understand it's in you. But it's not you. It is yourself in you that makes these wrong decisions. But if a man changes, and I'm not here to say if he's changing or not, you are. If he's willing to change, and you see him changing, not just saying he's going to change, that's not worth that much. Any statement, I'm going to change, I promise I'm going to change, please don't leave me, I promise I'm going to change, forget it. Because to reach that stage, you must have asked him to change, and he hasn't changed yet. But in the moment of losing, we know what we love. And in that moment, he is desperate, and he will say, he'll promise anything. You are dealing with a very great force in man, and a very beautiful magnet. A force of repulsion and an enormous force of attraction. That's what you've got. And you have to somehow or other, amongst all the men that come to you, you have to be as wise as a serpent and as gentle as a dove. Now, the gentle as a dove means that you put God first. You put truth first. God and truth comes first in your life, or otherwise you suffer. If you start to put the man before God or truth, you have written a prescription for your future unhappiness. Am I making sense? I mean, am I saying it as it is? That's the question, isn't it? But if you haven't learnt the lesson yet, then you'll have to go on and suffer. Now, there are different states of consciousness. As I say, there's different states of consciousness in this room. Everybody is in a different state of consciousness, which is a different state of intelligence. But we call it consciousness at this stage. Intelligence I'll refer to later, because intelligence is far more real than consciousness. But consciousness, if we can even get consciousness, we're doing very well. We're much more intelligent than the normalcy in the human race. So you're going to keep taking risks. Eh? You're going to keep thinking you can change him. Now, why can't you change him? Why can't you change him? But first of all, to change different consciousnesses. A man of consciousness can take on a woman of consciousness and can help her to be raised in consciousness towards the love that she is. And he will have an authority that is evident to her. It's not dependent on her feeling love of him. For God's sake, is not dependent on that. All feelings are suspect. It's a knowledge that there is something here that is good and right and true. Now, good and right and true is what we're talking about, right? And if it's not good and right and true, that authority is not good and right and true, then it's going to be force, and you're going to be manipulated. There has to be demonstrated to you, woman, all the time that any man of higher consciousness is good and right and true. Otherwise, you're living in illusion. That there is something that does not vary in him. Because variation and fluctuation is a normal human way. Then his authority can be good and right for you. But while you are watching all the time for what is good and right and true in the man, and seeing that it's always there, some aspect of it, then it's okay. And then, mostly at that stage, you don't have any feeling in your love. Because to be able to see what's good and right and true, you have to give up acting on your feelings, they go by feelings. Oh, I love him. Oh, I love him. It's so beautiful. We made such beautiful love and all that rubbish. I don't doubt that you made beautiful love, but your body's made beautiful love. You and he didn't, because your two selves didn't make beautiful love. Your bodies did. But if you can see what is good and right and true, it means that at that stage, the woman has gone to a large degree beyond her feelings. Because when to see anything's good and right and true, there is no feeling in it. It is pure knowledge and a straightness of the mind. And I know there's a couple of couples here that are in that state. That doesn't mean it's going to last, but it doesn't mean it's going to not last either. Because such a state is every moment. Every moment. It's now. And if it's good now, and it's right now, and it's true now, and there's no particular feelings in it, then now is always here. So there's no reason that it should end, except by the will of God, which directs everything. You can only stay with your partner as long as you are allowed to stay, because it is controlled by a greater power than you can ever even imagine, or I can imagine. How long you stay is how long it is allowed. Whether it's bad, whether it's horrible, you still can't get out, except that it's time to get out. And if it's good and beautiful and all the rest of it, you're still not allowed to hang on to it, because it will end according to God's will. So what I'm talking about, God, I'm talking about something creating every moment in your life and my life. Every moment. But that will is determined by justice, by what is right, by what is true, by what is supremely good. It is determined by that. But humanity has no idea of what is good, what is just, what is true, and what is supremely beautiful. Humanity has no idea of that. So it sees it sees the workings of God's will as horrific. I mean, there's the child that's dead, just killed by a car, 2 years old. Not the car, the child, 2 years old child, killed. We can't see that as anything to do with justice or rightness or honesty or truth. It's impossible for us to see that, because we're so sentimental, we're so fixated on our own wants and wishes and our own ideas of what it is, what harmony is. Harmony is not for the parents of that child. Harmony is for the whole of the human race, if I can put it like that. Harmony is for the whole. And everything that is moving towards to bring about a greater harmony for the human race. Everything. But working against that as the repulsion to that movement of grace is the human mind and the human emotions. And so the mother of that child will weep and think her life is finished. Now, I don't doubt that it is a very sad thing for any of us to lose something or one that we love, especially the mother of the child. It's a terrible thing. But it's not that terrible, because like the Buddha, and we're talking about a myth that is real, like the Buddha, you are the Buddha, you must look at it and say, why am I weeping at the death of my child, which has happened to 1 billion mothers before me? Why am I weeping? Isn't that the Buddhic intelligence? And not to go and want sentimental funerals and people coming up and saying, I'm so sorry and I'm here for you and all the rest of the bullshit. No, no, no. Tell me what's the justice in it? And they'll say, oh, there's no justice. It's terrible. How can you say there's a God when that happens? I'm not talking about that. There is justice and I want to find it. Are you hearing me? So when your heart is broken and you've parted with your lover, why don't you see the cause of it? It's a great movement to call life. And the repulsion of the human race, which is minds and emotions and feelings, always working against the great and wondrous effort of God to bring a harmony into humanity. But it's a pretty hopeless case, I must say. I understand. I understand God's uphill battle. Because God is all-powerful, and it was God that gave man sovereignty over his own desires and wants, and whatever he wants to do, he's allowed to do, as long as it stays within God's will, which is that everything then, if I can't bring you to a greater evolution of harmony, then you can have a greater evolution of progress. So the divine idea of bringing humanity to a greater harmony has been, by man's own desires, particularly the scientists, has to create an evolution of more cars, better cars, faster cars, more satellite things in cars and televisions in the back seat. They'll see me in the front seat, won't they? More of that, more to Mars, all progress and convenience. Better wigs for the ladies, right? Better movies, better, faster effects. That's all. Instead of bringing harmony to the human race, because of man's sovereignty over his own desires, he can now have evolution of better electronics, faster exchange of information, globalization, right? And all the rest of it, right? Oh, God. So that's what we're caught in. But God's will is still there, available, if only we will see the fact there's nothing wrong with evolution, which is progress. You talk of evolution and everybody thinks of Darwin's theory, don't they? I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? That's because the professors and everything, they scab the sway. But evolution is every moment. Evolution is you getting old. That's what evolution is. Evolution is your child growing up. Evolution is the car that you got today is more sophisticated than the last one you had. And the electronic gadgetry, that's evolution. Every day, every moment, the fashion that you wear is different today to what you wore 3 years ago. It's inevitable. It's a great pressure from the human race, from its ignorance, for trying to find something that's not God, that's not love, that's not honest, that's not true. So, we're talking about man and woman. I'm going between, because none of my tapes that you ever see, my videos, will ever say the same thing. Even though I'm talking about man and woman now, it is totally different in its way to how I've spoken in all the other videos and all the other tapes. It's always different because I am new every moment. Because I am now. I don't speak from concepts. I speak from knowledge. I speak from love. Love of you. Love of the people. And not of the public. The public are the masses, and I have no time for the public. I love the people. And the people are those who begin to love God and come to me or read my books and tapes. They're the people for me. And I love the people because the people are God in human form to me. Now I'm talking about man. This time I'm onto man now. What is this? What is this that makes it so hopeless for woman? What is it that makes it so hopeless for the pure love that she is? What is it that's turned her into half man, quarter man, three-quarters man, so that she even acts like man, wants to do the things that man does? Why? And you see the evolution of it all. Why does she want to be a policeman? Why does she want to box like man? Why does she want to play games while she's pregnant? Why does she want to do everything? Because she's strong enough. She senses that she is man enough to do it. Why? Because man has a terrible affliction. He has a more terrible affliction than woman. Woman indeed has the affliction of having to bear children, the affliction of having to go through the pain of bearing children. He doesn't have to. And all the things that happen in woman's inside that doesn't happen to man. Because women's insides are very sensitive, because she is a producer of life on earth. But she has to take the pain of reproducing the human race. So he doesn't have to do that. She also has to take the pain of periods every month until they cease. The pain, the discomfort, the change in consciousness, in perspective. Every month, man just goes his merry way. He doesn't have that. Woman then has to go through the menopause, a very, very disorientating time, which we men, unless we've ever been with a woman that's going through it, we just go our merry way. We don't give a stuff about that. We are busy with the computers, and we're doing important things. So the woman's having hot flushes. She doesn't know what to do. She feels she's losing control of her body, and up comes the hot flush, and it's terrible for her. Horrible. And that's only one of the things. And the disorientation that can happen. Terrible, terrible. And it goes on for 4 or 5 years. We men, we don't know anything about that. Go and see the doctor. So that's woman's affliction, being a woman. And being all love. Being all love. The very essence of love is woman. Well, why not? She produces the human race. She's the producer of it. She nurtures the child for 9 months. A man might have had an orgasm in her, which is very pleasant and all that, but then she has all the nourishing of the child. She has all that for 9 months, carrying it around in her body. She's got to do that. Because she produces love on earth. For if there was no babies, there would be no love on earth, no one to love and no one to be loved, would there? She is the producer of love on earth. And we can't talk of individual women, whether you've had a hysterectomy or whether you've had your ovaries removed. And we can't talk about that. We're talking about woman, the idea of woman. You're getting the idea, not the concept. The individual woman with a hysterectomy, she's lost her ovaries, she's done this and done that. That's the individual. That's the particularization of woman. And I'm not concerned with the particularization of woman. I'm concerned with the woman. The idea of woman, not the concept, because every particularization is a concept. So in that point, we're all little concepts of a great idea of man and woman. So woman is all love. The essence of woman is to love. And that's why she'll try and change man. She'll love him. She'll just love him through it. When his little boy lost, he's really depressed about his business and everything, she'll come forward and she'll say, "It's all right, darling, it's all right, I'm with you." And this is woman's instinct, is to love that around her. She'll love her children. I'm not talking about particularization. She loves the children that she bears. She just loves. She is pure love. And she will embrace her man who loves her. And if he falsely loves her, she'll still embrace him and suffer with him, because she is not intelligent enough yet, according to what BL says. But we'll be going into that. Now, that's woman's terrible affliction. And if you don't think it's an affliction, ma'am, well, I tell you, it certainly is. But she gets so used to it. And she gets such pleasure out of being pregnant, out of having love forming in her body. She gets a great pleasure out of that. And that's why she looks so good. After, of course, the initial vomiting and all the rest of it, and the craving for peanut butter, and and after all that stuff, and trying to make love, and the man trying to make love with her, and her stomach is up here, and it's not going so well, and he turns away from it a bit because he doesn't like the look of it, and all this sort of stuff. She got to put up with all that, but then she loves the sense of love in her body. It is growing in her, and it should be love that's coming out. And it is love that's coming out until it gets here. So that's woman's affliction, and it's no joke. And also, as you heard yesterday, when she gets to 40, she really starts to think about two things. One, if she hasn't started the menopause and she hasn't had a baby yet, the imperative in her to have a baby often arises before she can't have one. And she goes through a bit of hell there, wanting to have a baby, because it's an imperative in the female body to want to have a baby. I'm not particularizing in every woman, I'm telling about woman. And so she passes through that. And then she comes up to looking in the mirror and seeing at the age of 40 or thereabouts that she's getting older. Bits of grey hair, lines on the face, a bit of fatness coming on here and there. That's a terrible blow to her, for she is the prize of existence. She has been the prize of this existence. She has the main motivation of man, of love here. Every man has chased her. I'm talking about woman. Every man has chased her to love her, to enter her body, to be with her and make love with her. That is what keeps the whole world going. The whole world goes because man pursues woman, and has to, because it is the imperative. So she is like the flower that flowers from a very early age, where man can hardly wait and keep his hands off her. She's a flower, and she flowers very early. And man is chasing her and wanting her and having all sorts of conversations while his mind is turning on sexual thoughts all the time. Wherever a woman is, his mind is on sexual thoughts. He never has any thoughts of love, he has thoughts of sex, right? Love comes second. And so she sees herself getting older. And that's a terrible thing for that which has been the flower of existence, to suddenly sense that she is likely to be discarded. Because man will always pursue that which seems to be more beautiful. Because the idea of man's pursuit is to fecundate or pregnate the woman who has the more chance, like the species of, and he thinks that attraction and youth is more likely to survive. And the older woman, past menopause, can't produce children anymore. So there's these things working. These are imperatives in the idea of man and woman. But there's always this wonderful thing behind it, which I'll be talking about in a minute, but I'm just presenting the thing as it is here. Because it's not dependent on how people look. It is in the first instance, but in the second instance it's about the beauty within. That's what the attraction is. When you start to lose the feelings and you start to see straight, the attraction is in the beauty within, one or the other or both. But we're talking about man's affliction now. Man's affliction is that he is sexually driven. And if I have to demonstrate that to any woman here, then I'd be very surprised. Any woman does not know in her own experience of man's sexual drive. So I got that one right. I'm man. I got self-knowledge, haven't I? So man is sexually driven. It's a terrible affliction he has. He can't stop thinking about woman and her private parts. He can't stop thinking about her. He can't stop pursuing her, endeavouring to get into her body, endeavouring to impregnate her. It doesn't matter because that's the imperative. He must impregnate as many people as possible. He must do that. But then the mores of our society have dictated that there must be certain protocols followed, such as you've got to cover up and you must appear to be honest and be dishonest. That's okay as long as you appear to be honest and you can be dishonest, and all the rest of that's the dishonesty of our society. And so man's terrible drive to impregnate woman, or to have sex with woman, is covered up in dishonesty, because the society's dishonest about it. Society's dishonest about it, and so man has to be dishonest about it, because the society doesn't realise that man is an uncontrollable sexual urge. And what's controlling him is fear and self-doubt. And that's the reflex of it, you see, because for every positive there's a negative, and so for every negative there's a positive. So although he's got the great drive to make love to as many women as possible, he's got this reflex action that's suppressing him, his own fears of what people will say, his own fears that he might get caught, his own fear that he might lose everything he's got because of his passion, his own fears that his own fears and his own self-doubt about whether he can do it. I mean, he's got the imagination going, but when it comes to it, right up to the point, often man dreams about it, thinks about it, and when it comes to the point, won't do it because he doesn't think he's up to it. All these sort of things. But that's good. That's what keeps us. That's what keeps it. Some sort of rein on it. Although the dishonesty keeps going underneath, doesn't it? Prostitutes, that's not that the prostitutes are dishonest, it's the man. He's got to go to the prostitutes because he can pay, instead of paying in love with an ordinary woman, he's got to pay in his other love, which is money. Money is the love of society. You can buy anything. You can get massages, Swedish massages, you get some money. But how about having you making love to a woman and having her love you, and so that you love her and she her pleasure to massage you, or pleasure to make love with you, or pleasure to be with you? How about that? Oh, it's much easier to pay the money. Right. So that is in all men, all of us men, it is in us. And because it is so hidden by society, such a terribly dishonest society where sex is concerned, we develop cunning, and we sweet talk women, and we talk of love. We talk of love to her when we don't mean love, we mean just sex. Now it all transforms when you start to turn inward and you start to acknowledge a power greater than yourself, because you can't stand yourself anymore. It's so stinking that you can't stand yourself anymore, that you start to go within looking for something that's real, which you are not, and you know you're not. You know you're just some sort of drive, some sort of ugliness. And you go inside and you start to perceive something that might be beautiful. And that's the beginning of the possibility of transforming this sexual drive into love. And that's what you're all doing, all the men here, and the men who practice the idea of my teaching and not the concept of it, start to transform the sexual drive into love. And because sex is the most powerful energy in existence, then imagine what the distillation of that sex is. The distillation of sex is love, pure love. Imagine how powerful that is. But the trouble is that sex is very grainy stuff. It's got real practical action in it. It's got desire and wanting in it, and wishing and hoping. And whereas love is the distillation of that, the transformation of that, is something that's so fine and beautiful and sweet and lovely that it's almost non-existent. And that's what you men, practicing the idea of this teaching, are doing. You are transforming the most powerful force in the world into the most powerful power in the world, which is love. And that's what man is for. He is very powerful when he loves. He's no longer forceful. He's powerful. And woman loves him because she is love. And she's been waiting a long time, as woman, for this to happen. And where the woman has purified her emotion, which is her emotions are only love that has not been loved. And so when love, which she is not loved, not truly loved, it distorts and turns into emotion. And she has to work on that, because often the current man that she's with wasn't the cause of that emotion. It was the previous man. So many men beforehand have done this to her. And gradually, and she must not put that stuff on the current man who loves her, which is the psychic tendency, because it's psychic stuff. So I think we'll stop there. I've gone a little bit over time, I think, about an hour and 15 minutes over time. Time for a cup of tea now. Come on. Come on, we're still here. Yeah, we're still here. We're talking about love. We're talking about there's nothing more powerful than love. Sex is forceful indeed. Sex is impatient. Sex is wavering. Sex is wanting. Sex is demanding. Love is not demanding. Love is not wanting. Love is not fantasizing. Love is, well, who am I to say what love is? You must know what it is. So let's have a cup of tea after all that, eh? Good.